welcome to Quackalope. Thank you for being here. Today, I'm opening up Trudvang Legends. I know, not the Kickstarter version, but still, this has been a long time coming before my time actually here on Quackalope, and I don't quite know what I'm diving into, but I am excited to see Trudvang, the realm of sages and legends, a land of ancient history wrought in cycles of chaos and order, as harsh winters, roaming demons, vengeful dragons, and even pernicious gods plague the land. But now, its people fear a cycle of life is approaching its end. Rumors of the evil forces fuel the chaos as they bring the winter and its bitter cold and certain death. May the civilizations unite again around you, the legends of Trudvang. What mark will you leave on this world? So, this cooperative adventure game is set in the world of Trudvang Legends, the RPG. So, CMON is here taking a already existing IP and expanding it into a DM-less experience, which is exciting for me. I believe it's going to be more classic fantasy archetypes as we journey through, but let's take a closer look and see exactly what it's saying. 1 to 4 players will take the role of daring heroes who band together to fight back the encroaching forces of darkness while the game itself controls the enemy's events and obstacles. Sleeves on the map and adventure boards keep track of the story, the connections players make, the different paths that are chosen that render the current state of the world. Each adventure is part of the campaign that unfolds and presents challenges, mysteries, tests, decisions, and points of interest that heroes must overcome and investigate. Every choice has an impact and leaves a mark upon the land and its inhabitants, shaping the future. The destiny of Trudvang is in your hands. So, as we go through here, you're going to see that this starts to have these tiles and these cards and these boards that actually save the state of your game from session to session. And we have the classes. We have the Bard, the Interweaver, the Dim Walker, the Warrior, the Ranger, and the Rogue. So, some classic characters that you're going to play. I'm typically a rogue player, so let's see what they say about him. Outcasts and con artists. They live by stealth, murder, and daring with secrets, and always live in the shadows. Rogues are likely to succeed at agility tests, especially those relating to deceit or theft. Okay, let's take a look here. So, this is going to be the massive game board, and I'm already seeing some things here that I haven't seen another game do, and I'm really, really intrigued with. It's these little card sleeves built into the actual game board so that you're developing this map as you start journeying through. I'm not sure if this is a full campaign or if it's session to session and every session has an impact, like every story has an impact. I believe it's a campaign, and I believe this world will continue to transform. But the fact that it saves in place like this, I think is already really neat. Now, along with that, we have this other massive board. This is our adventure board. This is the board that's going to be keeping track of all the important details that we have as our party journeys across the story, which again is using that same customization, that same integration. Now, I believe these might be player aids or something of the sort. I'm not really sure yet. They're adventure sheets though, so they might run some of the characters, some of the creatures, some of the classes. And we have this board here, Trudvang Legends Punch Board. This is going to be for important but also secret information that comes out as you play. We have our character dashboards. You'll be putting your character card onto here. This is going to track the items, the slots, the resources, the combat that you have, your initiative order, all of that nonsense. And it's made out of like a little plasticky substance, which I like. We have some maps here, Adventure Map 1, 3, and 2. So it looks like we're going to be journeying through various portions of the story. And then here we have the Book of Sages. Now, the Book of Sages, this is going to be our story. And I am going to start by reading the very bit of this introduction because I love flavor text and you're not going to stop me. But also, because there's so much story in here, I can't do what I normally do, which is read all of it out loud to you as you go to sleep. Travelers, welcome to Trudvang, a vast land of heroic sages and epic adventures. Like many sagas, this one begins in the golden light of autumn as you sit by the fire, drinking honey mead and sharing tales with your fellow travelers. Your respite is interrupted by a hairy courier. Happy to have found you so quickly, the courier presents a letter from your mentor, the ancient elf Kintori, who trained you and so many others in your youth. He urges that you hasten to the Tower of Edgeland. You've not heard from him in a good while, but Cronte is an ancient and wise, and he would not seek you over trifling matters. In the pre-dawn light, you take the road itself best with unusual perils, yet your hearts are uneasy for a different reason altogether. Take adventure sheet C1, place all heroes in Edgeland, reveal enemy cards, play forest trolls, draw gores, point of interest A, and continue with the story. So, we're setting off on an adventure. An old elf, a wizened old elf, has summoned us, and this is the deck that we begin going through. I'm not going to open this deck. I'd like to have it all in order and not have to reshuffle it when I begin playing. We have character bases here, very classic CMON style, little plastic bases. Baggies, which I'm not sure what they're for. I assume it might save some of your stats. And then we have a whole stack of cards here, if I cannot throw them all around, full of what I think are going to be your characters and your character developments, along with events that you might come across. So let's take a look at one of these characters here. Let's take a look at Bria. Bria is, I think, maybe our Sword Maiden. Not entirely sure, but let's pop this open and just take a look at what's inside this deck of cards. So, Bria, yep, so we're going to have some of her stats, some of her abilities, Shadow Step, Energy, Evasion, Assassination, and I think that's the entire deck here. Yeah, so these are going to be triggering based off of the different tokens that you have. This might be a bag builder in some ways. I don't know that for sure, though, but it looks like with the state of these cards that we might be getting some type of bag building ability, and it does look like she's starting with Water, Elemental, Earth, Fire, and those are all probably going to pop into here. So these little cardboard tokens, this is something I personally am going to want to change or upgrade because I like bag builders that have tactile little wooden or metal pieces. So I'm going to be looking into what options I have out there to change that up. And there are probably some generic ones that I might be able to go shopping or fishing for. Okay, the other thing that you all are here for, of course, in any CMON game is the miniatures. Let's take a look at what craziness CMON has actually sent our way. So, very classic CMON style when it comes to poses and abilities. We have our gray pieces here, which are going to be our heroes. And I want to go through and start painting these. They do have really great detail. I've noticed, like is pretty common, there is some flashing, there is some areas where the connections haven't been made quite as clean, but if you know what CMON produces, you're not going to be disappointed or surprised by these. Now, these guys are honestly some of my favorite. Can you imagine playing in like a Lord of the Rings campaign with this giant troll or this big kind of gargantuan but fairly chubby dragon? I just like the personality. I like the snarled, snaggled teeth. And we also have this fairly vicious butcher. This is probably my least favorite of the bunch. He's just not quite as large or imposing as I would prefer. Now, it does look like we're going to go sailing here. We have some friendly little rafts and boats, and then we have some like minotaurs and some other characters and creatures. Not a giant variety when it comes to the enemies that we might be facing off against. I'm interested to see how the story actually incorporates these into the campaign itself and where it chooses to and not to use the various miniatures that we're facing off with. And I'm sure there was also a ton of pledged stuff that people did. I certainly hope that I'm going to get a copy of the Kickstarter edition. I think CMON probably plans to send me one so I can do a full unboxing and showcase everything in its goodness. But I thought this was cool that this was a game that showed up and I didn't really expect it. I think this is the retail version of the game, that or the base copy of the game that has arrived now. I'm not sure when everything else is planned, but I do know that this went through a ton of iterations, a ton of design choices, a ton of development to make it as good as possible. And so I'm extremely, extremely excited to have this here in hand. We'll see if I journey through an entire campaign or an entire story. It's going to depend on those first few chapters, because again, this is not one that I was actually overly familiar with. This is not one that I sought out myself. Instead, this is one that I'm really happy to see arriving. I know a lot of people have been, let's say, more than eagerly anticipating or awaiting this title. All right, how does this all tuck back inside here? That is the next question I have, good sir. Let's just kind of squeeze it in, lay that. as flat as possible and call it a day. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. Hopefully you're enjoying this whole slew of unboxing videos. I think this is the fun part of the hobby. Like this is part of what we all do, right? We get cool toys in and then we spend some time taking a look at them and playing with them. So, whatever the case, whatever you do, remember to do the important thing. Get out and play some games. See you next time. Bye.